Yes, welcome to another edition of In Poker, coming to you from the heart of the Midlands in Nottingham at the world-famous Dusk Till Dawn card room for the APAT Amateur World Championship Final. Now, I don't know about you, TK, but personally, I feel like whoever the chairman of APAT is deserves a right rollicking for picking such a miserable day to host this tournament.
Well, that'll be me then, but you can't spoil my day because I'm very, very proud today. APAT's been a tremendous organisation for amateur players. This is the highlight of the year, and we've had a spectacular four-day festival.
And not only are we covering the main event today, but we've got all the usual regulars. We've got James Hartigan in the hot seat with another couple of players.
Yes, we've got Bertrand Grospilia, also known as Elkie, and the great Sean Deeb.
And James will be back as well, rounding up all the poker news from around the globe in On the Rail. So plenty to look forward to in today's show. We ought to just get in and have a look at the action.
Let's go.
OK. Nice shoes, by the way. Well, we've just hit the bubble on the final day of the Amateur World Championship from APAT. TK, tell us about the structure.
10,000 chips, Rich, 45-minute clock. We've had two day ones, 1A and 1B, 157 runners at each, from which survived 25 and 24 respectively. So we come back today with 49, 38 paid, and we've just had that money bubble, as you know. Yep. And then we'll move on. Top three get decent money, £7,000, £5,000, £3,000, plus these wonderful medals and trophies. Championship title, World Amateur Champion, and a £3,000 seat into the GUKBT Grand Final. Not bad. OK, and
tell us something about APAT itself on the poker circuit.
Well, as you know, it's an organisation for amateur players, and it's trying to promote the interests of players. We don't have registration fees on any events. We have added value in every event. We can thank our sponsors for that. But what we're trying to do is say to the people of poker, this is how players should be looked after. Give players at the lower buy-in levels proper structures. Don't charge registration fees. Give them added value. That is a way forward for all of poker, and it's a good model.
So this is called the WCOAP. Is that named after you, OAP?
No, Richard. It's World Championship of Amateur Poker. Okay. And a prestigious title indeed. It's a second renewal. Last year's champion played Nick Ripple, Nick Jenkins, known as Ripple 11 on the forums. And this is something that these guys really want. Big, big bragging rights.
And how would you expect this game to map out then over the next few hours? You expect it to slow down a bit now that we've reached the bubble?
No, well, no, there's a young man called Paul Pitchford in this tournament, doing very, very well indeed. He won our Omaha tournament on Thursday. That'll be quite a double for him. And bear in mind, parallel with this, we're also running up the back there, a horse tournament. You don't get too many of those in the UK.
And as for these prizes, I tell you what, you get a lot of bang for your buck out of these chocolate coins, don't you? Nice. Well done. Let's go to the action, shall we? Well, joining me right now is Richard Prue, who's the media director of APAT, who have obviously organised the event. We're at level 16 right now, Richard, so how long do you envisage before we hit a final table?
Well, we've just hit the final two tables. I think we're about 2 hours away, so maybe 8 o'clock.
Is this running according to the form book?
It is. We get quite experienced with these types of things. Yeah. I actually guessed how many were coming back on each of the days. I'm quite proud of myself for that.
Did you win any money from TK?
You must be joking.
It's like trying to get blood from a stone, isn't it? So, APAT, tell me more about it, because in some ways the Sky Poker Tour is the latest in a long line, isn't it, of these sorts of tournaments. But APAT was the daddy, really.
Yeah, I mean, we're in our third season now, towards the end of our third season, and we started off with 120 runners in August 2006 and sold that out. And since then we've gone from strength to strength. And really the idea behind it was that recreational players going to play in a live environment weren't really getting great value for money. They were playing poorly structured tournaments in their local casinos, and unless you wanted to fork out the big buy-ins to play in the festivals, you were really restricted to playing online. So what we and Sky Poker Tour and a few others have done is give people more enjoyable, better structured poker experiences.
Do you think this has also come from a few years ago? It was a little bit intimidating to walk into casinos. There were a lot of pros there. It had a bit of a more darker, edgier atmosphere, and this has helped to bring it more mainstream.
I think poker used to be have a much more seedier reputation than it currently has. I think it's far more mainstream these days. But what we found is it's introduced a lot of people into live poker, and particularly lady players. About a fifth of our field is usually lady players, and typically they wouldn't be going to play live poker, especially on their own in the past. And these days, if you go into UK poker venues, you see much more mixed fields around.
Next one round your house then, Richard?
My house isn't big enough. I'd still lose, though.
Surely you can get a heads up in there. Thank you very much.
No problem, thanks.
So players have just taken their seats at the final table. TK, should we take a little orbit? Who's catching your eye?
Well, the chip leader obviously has got a good game. James Bagley from Southampton, plenty of chips, 700,000. I think the blinds are something like 8,000, 16,000. Average stack 340, so he's double average. Clearly starts with an advantage. The guy that's going to give him trouble, it's going to be aggressive, is Jamie Reeve. He's in seat 9, so they're nicely separated.
There's a lot of mutual respect between those two as well. They're the ones that have picked out each other.
And there's 2 long-distance players here, one from Norway. It'd be lovely to see him do well. He's only got 114,000. There's a gentleman that's come even further than him, got the same stack, and his name is Mr. Potter, I think. He comes from West Cornwall.
Where?
West Cornwall. It's in Devon.
Never heard of it. In seat 1, it's Ian Overson. He's got 256,000 chips.
Any spots I've got into, I've woke up with aces and kings a couple of times and people have pushed in. I've never really been all in any trouble, so I'm quite lucky in that aspect, to be honest.
Chris Files from Evesham's in seat 2, and he's also struggling for chips just below the average stack.
There's a lot of chips to my left. In fact, I'm sat in the middle of chips, so as steady as we go before we start off, and then it'll be all hands to the pump.
James Bagley, though, is the man to beat. He's the chip leader from Southampton. 750,000 chips. Going to be hard to get those off him.
Yeah, it's gone really well so far. I've just run hot like all tournaments, so everything's just fallen into place at the right time. So I hope it continues to go well.
John Miller in seat 4 from Accrington is well above the average.
I am quite pleased, just over average. It means I can hang on a little bit and not do anything too rash straight away.
And Ant Williams from Birmingham is in a similar situation. Got well over the average chips, and psychologically, does that make a difference when you get a big win just before you sit down at the final table?
I wouldn't know, because it doesn't happen to me very often.
Charles Mason in seat 6 from Solihull.
I was up as high as 470 and I've come down to what I am now, but no, it's been a great fun, a really great experience.
And Øystein Eggen, the man from Norway, he's come a long way. He has to double up. He's got 114,000 as he takes his seat at the final table.
I mean, I played poker for like 15 years, and you're not allowed to play poker in Norway, so we have to go abroad. And this is a fantastic place to play.
Dave Potter, exactly the same amount of chips from West Cornwall in seat 8.
Very happy. I've got one decision, and that's when to push. I've got about 7 big blinds, although I came in today with 7 big blinds, so I'm used to the position, and it makes things fairly simple, to be honest.
And finally, bringing up the rear in seat 9 is Jamie Reeve with 313,000.
I started the day with quite a lot of chips. Unfortunately, I was late arriving this morning. We got stuck in traffic, so I'd already lost a few chips when I arrived, but things ran okay. I ran really well on Friday on my day 1. Today hasn't gone quite as smoothly. I've been pretty low a few times, but yeah, I've managed to get back up there.
And who's you fancy to win then? Who's your money on?
Well, I think I'm going to go for Jamie Reeve. If the guy from Norway doesn't win it, or James Bagley, or Chris Files.
Okay, so just hedging your bets there. Let's go back to the action.